Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. It's such a hot day today that I think I'm going to make a solar oven and see if I can melt some s'mores in my little oven here outdoors. So what you need is a shoebox or a box that has a lid to it. And we're going to put this at an angle. It needs to be a hinged lid if possible. I need to make the hinge for this one. And inside we're going to line it with foil. And what I'm going to use is an old grill dish that I had from before. And you can see what I've got in here. In here I've got a load of insulation. I've got a whole lot of packing material that came. I collect this. I've got a lot of it. You could put a t-shirt in here or a bit of a rug or something. It's not going to get spoiled. It's going to be quite safe. So it can be something that's good. We're going to put that on there and we're going to seal it in place. We want to keep all the heat into this part. It's going to be our oven. And then the top of the lid here is going to be our reflector. So we're going to have foil lined on the inside here that's going to reflect in. So here's our tin foil. So we need some tin foil. Now if you don't have a tray, you would use tin foil for the whole thing. But because I have an old tray that I can use, I'm going to just cover this thing with the tin foil. There we go. Measure it. I think long ways is going to work best. There we go. That looks good. There we are. Put the reflecting side. I'm going to focus the sunlight onto my other tray. So do the corners neatly, like when you're making your bed. Do the corners nice and neat, nice and tidy. And keep the bottom as flat as possible because you want it to reflect well. There we go. Great. Right. Turn it over. Put these bits in here. Just want a few bits of tape to hold it all. A few bits of tape. Another piece this side. There we go. And a little bit each end. That'll be fine. Doesn't need to be on that securely. Just that it's not going to blow away. Let's see. There we go. It looks a bit crude. You can make it neater if you're going to keep using the oven. I'm just going to try mine out today. So there we go. There we have our reflective lid onto our base there. It's going to be really good. So I need to make this into a hinge so that it's going to be nice and secure. I'll need a bit more masking tape like that. And I think it's going to be a little bit tricky. But let me make a start. Here we go. All right. That plane's quite low, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to put some hinges. So I've just made a couple of hinges there. I'm going to make this a lot stronger before we begin actually using it. And that's just a start. And then you want some way of holding this up at an angle. And you probably want it so you can adjust it a bit, so you can focus it at the sun and make sure the sun's going to come and shine onto the food that you're warming up there. So you can just use a pen in the side or a stick. A rule is going to be, no, that's not going to work, it's going to be too long. So I need to find some sort of stick that's going to be about the right length. So I'm going to finish my hinge and find a stick to prop this up with, and we'll be back soon. You can get started, okay? See you soon. Bye. So here we are back again. I've now lined my lid. Oops, and I've got my tray fitted in. And I've got some different lengths of sticks to see how best to support this up in. And this is, I think, this is probably the one I'm going to use. one's a bit low. I'm going to use this one. There we go, like that. Now what we're also going to do is to take the temperature of the surfaces to see how hot they get. I have a digital thermometer here. You've probably seen these in the stores or at school or when you're beginning to pick things up. And what you do is you aim it at a surface and it shows the reading on the back. So I'll just aim this at the table and it says 28. This is in Celsius, so it's at 28 Celsius, which is around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So there are two different ways of measuring things. Celsius was a scientist who thought he would use water for his scale. So water freezes at his 0 and water boils at his 100. So it goes from 0 to 100 and uses water. Now Fahrenheit was a doctor and he decided to use blood. So he used when blood froze, which he called his 0, and then the natural body temperature he set to 100. So his went from freezing of blood to not the boiling of blood, but to the body temperature, which is 100. Well, it's actually sort of 98.7, 98.6 around there, because since then we've become more accurate. But the important thing is that they are still scales of measurement, and the Fahrenheit is the one that is used here in the US for most purposes, and scientists use the Celsius one. And I tend to use Celsius, and that's what this thermometer is set on. So when you look at 0 degrees Celsius, that's at 32 Fahrenheit. You know, water freezes at 32 Fahrenheit, right? And when you've got about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, that's kind of 10 degrees Celsius. So it's a bit chilly. When you have 61 degree Fahrenheit, which isn't too bad, that's actually 16. You just reverse the numbers. So 61 Fahrenheit is 16 Celsius. And then when we get to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius, that is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when water boils. So the scales don't move at the same rate. It's quite interesting. They're different. So inside our dish here, let me see, for the lid, I've got 23. Hope this is clear for you there. And when we move over the other side, we'll see what it is then. So just out of interest, let's take my forehead. It's 34. Because body temperature in people is 37. So 34 is pretty good for just for on my forehead there. All right, so I'm going to move it over into the sunshine and we're going to melt some s'mores. Okay, see you soon. So I've got everything set up here on the deck now, and you can probably see only a bit of me, but as long as you can see all this part, that's what's important. So here's my little oven here, and got the thermometer, and it says 30 Celsius, and in the oven it says 30 again in the oven, so that's a fair bit warmer than it was in the shade. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down some clean foil, it's shinier, and I'm going to put on my cookie and my piece of chocolate and see if it'll melt. Now you can see the sun is directly up there, so I think it's doing pretty good focus. Certainly feeling warm there by my hand. Let's have another look here. .31 now, so it's getting warmer. I'm also going to do a little experiment on the side. I'm going to take this black dish and see if it gets any hotter than the other. So I'm going to move this along a little bit here. Move my foil. I'm going to put the black dish there, and we'll just see what the black dish does. It's always good to try a few more things when you've got an experiment up and running and you can find something else out at the same time. That's always great fun. So let me have a look now inside the black dish. Whoa, 51? Well, I'm not sure. Do I believe that? I think I'll have to do it again. So let me take something cool just at the floor here and have another go. 53. If you get a result you're not sure of, just take another measurement. You can see I'm looking into the sun. My hat isn't helping very much. So hopefully, is the chocolate melting? I think it's melting a bit. Should I test it? Let me just see. Oh, it's going gooey. It's melting nicely. That's great. Now the other thing I could have been doing while this was going on was to time it. I had a timer set behind here and it looks like it's been going for about 2 minutes. We'll see, but it's definitely melting. So that little oven is working. I know people who have cooked eggs and sausages and things in these little ovens. They can get very hot. They can get hot enough that you can burn yourself if you're not careful. But I think they're best for s'mores because the chocolate just goes lovely and melting, which it's definitely doing there. The lettering's disappearing and the corners are all melting down. So I think we're good. But look at this container here. Look at my black container. It's melting. No, I didn't expect that. That's great. Wow. That's really cool. So when plastic melts, it can give off fumes, so you don't want to stay too close to that. And also, it's just as well I didn't put my chocolate in the black plastic one, because then I wouldn't want to eat it, because plastic's not good to get the fumes off onto your food. There it is. Now I'm going to take the camera off the tripod and I'll show you close up. Oh, before we do that, one more measurement here. It says 30 still, and on the chocolate itself. Yep, that says 30, and the black, that's now saying 46. Here we go, here's my chocolate melting. Now you can see much more clearly. Have a look at that container. Okay. Isn't that impressive, just from the sunlight? And there's my chocolate, it's going all nice and gooey there. Great. Well, that's definitely worked. Let's take one more temperature here so you can see nice and clear. Here's the scope. There we go. 23, that's kind of disappointing. You know why? I'm in the sun, aren't I? Here's me shading the sun. That wasn't very clever. Okay, let's have another go. Here we go. All right, I'm hoping I'm making you dizzy with the boat moving around here, but let's have another go. 31. There we are. 31 Celsius. So that's up to sort of 90 Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot. So there we are. I'm going to enjoy my s'mores in a minute. I hope you all have a good time and use the sun's energy to make some exciting experiments. All right, keep building. Bye.